Hi, everyone. This is Mrs. Pearson, your elementary ELL teacher. Today, we're going to focus on the vocabulary words and pictures for second grade journeys, lesson 21. Our anchor text is Penguin Chick. So, for this lesson, we're going to turn and talk. That means I'm going to ask you some questions. You're going to think about your answer. Then you're going to pair up with a partner, or you can be my virtual partner. And then you're going to share your thinking out loud in a complete sentence or sentences. So for this lesson, you will need a pencil and a piece of paper or journal page. And you're going to divide the paper into 3 equal parts or thirds, 1, 2, 3. And then you're going to write numbers 1 to 8. And for each vocabulary word, you're going to also write a synonym. And a synonym is a word that means the same, just like combine is a synonym for mix. And then if you don't catch the synonym, that's okay. You can write the word a second time. And then in the third column, I want you to draw a quick picture or sketch to help you remember the word. So here's our learning targets. I can use pictures and context clues to help me understand important words from the text Penguin Chick. Here's our next learning target. I can talk about the vocabulary words and pictures. So you may ask yourself, how will I know that I'm successful at using pictures and context clues? And how will I know that I'm successful at talking about these vocabulary words? Well, here's our success criteria or your steps to success. I will. Number 1, look closely at each group of pictures. Number 2, I will. Say what I notice about the pictures. How are they the same or similar? 3, I will. Read each word and its definition. 4, I will. Write each word 1 to 2 times, a synonym, and draw a quick picture or sketch. So if you do these things, I can guarantee you will be successful at reaching your learning target. Turn and talk rules. So if you have a partner at home, you are eye to eye and knee to knee, mostly facing the speaker. Number 2, first one person talks, the other person listens. 3, then the next person talks, the other person listens. 4, don't talk too long on your turn, or your partner will not have time to have a turn. I'm going to ask the same questions for each group of pictures. What do you notice or see? And you're going to say, I notice or I see. And then I'll ask you, how are the pictures all the same or similar? And you'll say they all and tell me how they're the same or similar. You may also say, I agree with my partner or Mrs. Pearson. And if so, you can say, I agree with you because, and tell me why. Or you may disagree, and you could say, I disagree with you because, and tell me why. Here's our first group of pictures. What do you notice or see? I notice or I see. So say out loud what you notice about one or more of the pictures. I notice that. Well, in the first picture, I notice a bird's webbed foot. In the second picture, I notice some penguin feet. And in the third picture, I notice a baby duck or chick, and the chick has webbed feet. So, how are these pictures the same or similar? They all? Well, they all show webbed. So, for number 1, I want you to write webbed. The root word is web, but then you write the whole word webbed. 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 What does web mean? Toes or fingers joined by skin. Toes or fingers that are connected with skin, webbed. So a synonym or a word that means the same could be connected. Webbed is the same as connected, connected by skin. A penguin is a bird with big webbed feet. Its toes are joined by thin skin. A penguin is a bird with big webbed feet. Its toes are joined by thin skin. You could also say a penguin is a bird with big connected feet. Its toes are joined by thin skin. Think about it. If an animal has webbed feet, what does that tell you about where the animal lives? You could also say if an animal has connected or joined feet, or not connected, connected feet, what does that tell you about where the animal lives? Connected by skin, that is. So, number one is webbed. Number two, what do you notice or see? I notice or I see. Well, in the first picture, I notice an umbrella with rain. In the second picture, I notice a raincoat in rain. And in the third picture, I notice that rain is bouncing off of a material. So, how are all these pictures the same or similar? They all, well, they all show something that is waterproof. That is a compound word, water and proof. Waterproof. 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 What does waterproof mean? Does not let water pass through, airtight and safe from water. Does not let water pass through, airtight and safe from water. So a synonym or word that means the same is airtight. Airtight. That is also a compound word. Air plus tight is airtight. Airtight is a synonym for waterproof. 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 Penguins' feathers are waterproof, which keeps the birds warm and dry. Penguins' feathers are waterproof, which keeps the birds warm and dry. You could also say penguins' feathers are airtight. They hold in the air, which keeps the birds warm and dry. Think about it. What parts of a house should be waterproof? Ooh, that's a good question. What parts of a house should be waterproof or airtight? Next group of pictures. What do you notice or see? I notice or I see. Well, in the first picture, I notice it looks like a bus driver or some sort of driver that's driving a vehicle. In the next picture, I notice someone is in a sailboat steering a sailboat. It looks like with the udder or rudder, not udder, rudder. And in the third picture, I notice hands on a steering wheel. So how are these pictures the same or similar? Well, they all show steer. Steer, 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 steer. What does steer mean? Control the way it moves to maneuver or drive in different directions. Con- Control the way it moves to maneuver or drive in different directions. So a synonym or word that means the same for steer is maneuver, or you could say drive. maneuver. Webbed feet help penguins steer through the cold Antarctic water. Webbed feet help penguins steer through the cold Antarctic weather. You could also say webbed feet help penguins maneuver or drive through the cold Antarctic weather. Think about it. How does someone steer or drive or maneuver a boat? Next group of pictures. What do you notice or see? I notice or I see. Well, in the first picture, I notice an emoji whistling a tune. In the second picture, I notice a whistle that you blow into. And in the third picture, I notice Mickey Mouse is also walking and whistling. So, how are these pictures the same or similar? They all show whistle. 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 Whistle means sharp sound made by blowing air. High tooting sound. Sharp sound made by blowing air. High tooting sound. That is a whistle. 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 So a synonym or word that means the same is toot. Toot. Toot or whistle. Toot toot. All right. It is very cold in Antarctica. The wind makes a high, sharp sound like a whistle. It is very cold in Antarctica. The wind makes a high, sharp sound like a toot. All right, think about it. When have you heard a sound like a whistle? Or when have you heard a sound like a toot toot? All right, here's our next group of pictures. What do you notice or see? Well, in the first picture, I notice an exclamation mark like a warning, or else, or else. And in the next picture, I notice a sheep that's different than all the rest in a different situation. And in the third picture, I notice a no sign, if not. So, how are these pictures the same or similar? They all show something to the effect of otherwise. So instead of or else, you can say otherwise, or instead of in a different situation, you could say otherwise, or you could say if not, or otherwise, so or else in a different situation, and if not, you could say otherwise. Again, this is a compound word, other and wise, Otherwise. Otherwise, Otherwise. Otherwise, or else in a different situation. Otherwise. So you could say or else as a synonym. The penguin father keeps his egg warm. Otherwise, the egg might get too cold. The penguin father keeps his egg warm, or else the egg might get too cold. Think about it. What is another way of saying otherwise? So, again, what is another way of saying otherwise? You could say or else in a different situation, or if not. So, the penguin father keeps his egg warm. If not, the egg might get too cold. Next group of pictures. What do you notice or see? I notice or I see. Well, in the first picture, I notice a girl and she looks quite happy. In the second picture, I notice a little penguin chick. In the third picture, I notice a boy. So, how are these pictures the same or similar? They all show what? Junior, 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 Junior. Junior. Junior means young, not an adult, like a kid or a child. Junior, young, not an adult. Junior, a synonym for junior could be young or child. At 5 months, a junior penguin is still younger than an adult. At 5 months, a junior penguin is still younger than an adult. Junior. Think about it. Why do some people's names end with the word junior? So why do some people's names end with the word junior or young? To signify a child. Or at 5 months, a young penguin is still younger than adult, or a child. Child penguin is younger than an adult penguin. What do you notice or see? I notice or I see. Well, in the first picture, whoops, sorry, Mrs. Pearson made a mistake. In the first picture, I notice a person looks like they're slipping, and Goofy in the middle looks like he slipped or is falling. In the next picture, the last picture, I notice the car wheels are sliding or slipping. So, how are these pictures the same or similar? They all show slippery. So, the root word in slippery is slip, to slip, slippery, Slippery. Slippery, Slippery. Slippery. Greasy or slick, smooth or wet is slippery. Greasy or slick, smooth or wet. So a synonym for slippery could be slick. Slick. The scientist tries not to slide on the ice. The ice is very slippery to walk on. You could also say the ice is very slick to walk on. Think about it. What word does slippery begin with? What does that word mean? What word does slippery begin with? So what's the root word? Slip. Slip. Oops, I keep going ahead of myself. What do you notice or see in these pictures? I notice or I see. Well, in the first picture, I noticed someone won the race. They're at the finish line. They're finally at the finish line. In the next picture, I noticed that there's someone in the back of the line and they're waiting to get to the front of the line or to finish that line. So in here, we have some penguins running away race and they have finally made it to the finish line. So how are these pictures the same or similar? They all Well, they all show finally. Finally, they made it to the end. Finally. Finally means happens after a long wait, at the end, or lastly. Finally means happens after a long wait, at the end, or lastly. Finally. The root word for finally is final. F-I-N-A-L, final. Finally is F-I-N-A-L-L-Y, finally. So what's a synonym or a word that means the same? Lastly, finally, or lastly. These penguin chicks finally grew up and became adult penguins. These penguin chicks finally grew up and became adult penguins. You could also say, these penguin chicks lastly grew up and became adult penguins. Or in the end, they grew up. So think about it. Think of a time when something finally happened after you waited a long time. What finally happened? Why did you have to wait? So think about a time when something lastly, in the end, or after a long wait happened. After you waited a long time, what happened? What in the end, or lastly, what happened? And why did you have to wait? All right, it is time to check your work. Make sure you have your word, the synonym, and then a quick picture or sketch. Number one is webbed, W-E-B-B-E-D, webbed. Toes or fingers joined by skin, toes or fingers that are connected with skin. So you could say webbed. A synonym might be connected. And then your quick picture or sketch. Number two, waterproof. Does not let water pass through, airtight and safe from water. And if you notice, after you've written the word waterproof, in the second column, the synonym is airtight. I highlighted that in yellow. Number three, steer, control the way it moves, to maneuver or drive in different directions. Steer, and I highlighted the synonyms maneuver, or you can write drive. So make sure you've written steer, then maneuver, and then a quick picture or sketch to help you remember the word. Number four, whistle, sharp sound made by blowing air, high tooting sound. And again, a synonym or word that means the same for whistle is toot or tooting. So if you need to, this is a good time to push pause and make sure you have your word, your synonym, and your quick picture or sketch for all four words. And if you, once you're ready, push play to rejoin the lesson. All right, number five was otherwise, which is another way of saying or else or in a different situation. Otherwise. Number six, junior. Junior means young, not an adult. Junior. And again, a synonym is young. Number seven, slippery. Greasy or slick. Smooth or wet. Slippery. The root word is slip, S-L-I-P. And slippery is S-L-I-P-P-E-R-Y, slippery. Another word is slick. And finally, number eight, finally. The root word is final, happens after a long wait, at the end, or lastly. So if you need to, this is a great place to push pause. Make sure you have all of these words. Make sure you have a synonym for each and a quick picture or sketch. When you're finished, push play to rejoin the lesson. All right, let's review our learning target. What was our learning target? I can use pictures and context clues to help me understand important words from the text. Penguin check. Would you give yourself a 4? I could teach this lesson. I easily said what I noticed about each group of pictures and how they were the same. Would you give yourself a 3? I was able to say what I noticed about most of the pictures and how they were the same. Or would you give yourself a 2? I was able to say what I noticed about some of the pictures and how they were the same. Or would you give yourself a 1? I was not able to say what I noticed about any of the pictures or how they were the same. So write your reflection at the top of your paper: 4, 3, 2, or 1. Thank you, everyone, for going over the important words and pictures. For Penguin Chick, have a great day.